Hi everyone, welcome to another Afterschool Adventures. This week I want to talk to you about a very cool machine that is very close to all of us, our heart. This part of you works hard all day, every day, so I thought it was time we gave it some recognition. I'm going to show you how a heart works and how to make a stethoscope so you can listen to heartbeats, and then we're going to talk about our pulse. But before we do that, let's run down everything your heart does. So your heart is actually a muscle, similar to the muscles that appear, at least on some people, when you flex your arm and it pops up right here. The heart is made of that same kind of stuff. All day, every day, it's squeezing and then releasing. And when it does that, it's a heartbeat. And with every heartbeat, your heart pushes the blood and oxygen through your body. Let's do our first experiment and look a little closer. All right, so to build our heart model, we're going to need a few things. We're going to need 3 bottles of the same size-ish, and then we're going to need to fill 2 of them up to about this line that most bottles have. It doesn't really matter that much how much you're putting, but just mostly full is what we're looking for. We are going to need 4 bendy straws. We're going to need some tape. We're gonna, hopefully, if you have something like this is like modeling clay or Play-Doh works well. If you don't have anything like that, you can just use tape. It's probably just gonna take you a little bit longer. We need some scissors because we're going to be putting holes in these only two bottle caps. So you probably will want a grown-up around for that as well. But that's it, so let's get started. So first, fill your bottles. I've already done that. And then we're going to take our first bottle cap, so this is our middle one, and we're going to just poke 2 holes in it. And so the holes need to be big enough to fit our straw in, but we don't want a lot of space beyond that because we're actually going to try and make it a very tight seal with our clay. So here I go, poking 2 holes. So I'm going to be very careful and stab down. That's just my dog. She's going outside. Okay, so I'm being very careful. I'm going very slowly. Okay. So there's 1 hole and there's the second one. So I've got 2 holes in that one. And then for this one, we are going to do 1 hole that is about the same size as our first one, so big enough to fit a straw. And then the other one is just going to be small. So we just need to let a little bit of air out. So just on 1/2, same thing. I'm going to push down very carefully. Okay, and then the second one, I'm going to just push down, but not quite as far, so the hole is a bit smaller. All right, so I'm going to clean these up. It's probably going to take you a little bit of time to get them the right fit for your heart, but then we'll be back and we'll finish up. All right, so I've got my bottle caps all ready to go. So next step, we're going to take some of our straws and we're going to join them together. So we just need to take the straws and bend them out so they are nice and creased out. And then we need to join them together. Sometimes you can kind of get them to slide in on each other, but mine don't seem to be doing that, so I'm just going to use my tape. And we're just going to put them flat and roll that on. And we need this to be watertight because some of our liquid is going to be traveling through this. So there is our first one. So pretty good, but I'm just going to add a little bit more for good measure because, like I said, it's not a really good idea to get the water running out of the straw, not only because it's going to be messy, but that's not how our heart works, right? all sealed up. So there's one. And then we've got our 2 more, and it's going to be the same thing. So these are going to be together, and then they're going to be over here. So I've got all my straws taped up, my 2 sections there, and I'm going to take my bottle caps and I'm just going to slide them through. So here's one. So this is the single one, and then it goes through to the double and through. So it looks like that. So now we're going to stick them in our bottles. So it's kind of funny to screw it on. So you want to do the middle one first and just screw the whole thing on like that. Easy enough. Then we'll do this one. And the last straw just goes into our last bottle like that. Okay. So now you want to push your straws down far enough that they're in the liquid. Okay. And there we go. Oh, nope, not quite. So now we have to just seal up this this section here with either our Play-Doh or our tape if we don't have Play-Doh, just to make it airtight, right? We don't want any air going anywhere except for the air we're pushing through the straws. So there. So try not to squish the straws flat when you're putting the Play-Doh on, because we don't want them to be clogged or anything like that, or anything in the way of the air moving through there. All right, I think that's good. So let's give it a try. So here it is, and let's take a look at how this is similar to how our hearts work. Our heart has 4 sections, but it's split into 2 groups. So there's the right side of your heart with 2 sections and the left side of your heart with 2 sections. So if this bottle here is the right side of your heart, it has blood coming in that has no more oxygen in it because it's already traveled through the body and delivered all its oxygen. So it goes through here and takes a pit stop at the lungs and gets some fresh oxygen and lands in here. So to do that, we pinch and we pump. And then once it's in here, travels through here. And then this is the rest of our body. It goes throughout the rest of our bodies. And then we pinch and we pump. And then we can't show this in our model, but then it loops back around. So if you were to take what goes in here and pour it back in here, that's the completed loop. And then what we're doing with the pinching is to simulate or to pretend like the valves of our heart. So our heart has valves just to make sure that everything is flowing properly and to make sure that the right blood, the oxygenated blood, or the blood without oxygen is going to the right place. So our heart is supposed to pump like that, and if it's not, you can sometimes get sick. But it's not very easy to know if your heart is pumping correctly because we can't see it. So that is where our second activity comes in. Now, if you've been to the doctor, you've probably seen a stethoscope before like this. The doctors put it on your back and they tell you to take deep breaths, right? When they're doing that, they're listening to your heartbeat. Now, we can't make something quite as nice as what the doctors have, but we can find something that'll do the job. All right, so let's make our stethoscope. So for our homemade version, we're gonna need a few things. We're gonna need, I'm using a paper towel tube, but it doesn't necessarily need to be that. Just something tube-shaped that is gonna be stiff. We're gonna need a funnel. So any size you have lying around will do. We're gonna need a pair of scissors. We're gonna need a balloon. And we're gonna need some tape. I'm also just using a cup to stand my funnel in because it's going to be pretty tight to put that balloon over it. But let's get started. So first thing, we will just start with this. So I'm putting my funnel in my stand and I'm cutting my balloon. So it depends on the size of your balloon and the size of your funnel, but basically you want to cut it so cut the tight end off and cut it at a point where you think it's going to be able to stretch over this part of your funnel. So it's probably going to take a few tries because usually balloons need to stretch out anyways. And then we're going to muscle it onto here. And it should probably be tight enough that you won't need to tape it or anything like that. Oops. See, like I said, a couple tries probably. So it should be tight, and you probably won't need to do anything to keep it in place. But if you do, just throw some tape on there, or a rubber band would work too. Okay, there we go. So that's nice and tight on there. Now we're going to take our paper towel roll. I flip my funnel upside down. I'm going to stick it on there like that. And we're going to take our tape. So probably a thicker tape is going to work well rather than just a skinny masking tape, because we're just going to tape this paper tube or whatever you have to our funnel. So I'm going to rip some here. And let's try. I'm going to try and keep my tube up and down and stick this on somewhere in the middle. Okay. Just a few more pieces, just to make sure it's nice and secure. Okay. There we go. So that's basically it. It's pretty easy, like I said. And what you do is you just put this part to your ear, this part to the chest of whoever's heart you're listening to, and you're going to want to go somewhere quiet because it is quite faint, but then you'll be able to hear the thump thump of the heart. So that thump thump is the two sections of your heart pushing blood through your body. And that's not the only way to know what's going on with your heart. The other great way is by knowing your pulse. So the pulse means how fast your heart is beating. You can only feel your pulse in certain parts of the body where the blood is moving closer to your skin. You can feel it on your wrist by pushing a finger here. So you have the center of your wrist, and then just off to the side underneath the thumb, that's where you can feel your pulse on your wrist. So you've got to just pay really close attention. You should feel it thumping. And that one can be a bit tricky to find. So if you can't find that one, you can also feel your pulse pretty clearly on your neck. So you have a bone right here called your collarbone. That's kind of where your shoulders meet your neck. And so if you go just above that, you should be able to feel it. So once you find your pulse, you can measure it. To measure your pulse, you have to look at a clock and for exactly 1 minute, count how many times you feel your heartbeat. And then that number is your pulse. So that's all I have this week. I know I can really appreciate my heart even more now that I know how hard it works every day. I hope you guys had fun with this, and I hope you try your stethoscope. Take the pulse of your family, of your siblings, or your parents, because everybody's going to be a little bit different. And why don't you try and see how your heart sounds and feels after you've been running around for a while, because it's going to sound pretty different. So if you are interested in this, of course, head down to the library. We've got all sorts of books about how the human body works and all the incredible things it does. All right, guys, I will see you next week. Bye.